Well, I don't know how you pronounce it, so what can I tell you? Got any ideas? JIEYIFAN? I don't know, but it's a nice unit. So who really cares what it's called? Link in the description. Great price. Let's check it out. So, check out how small this thing is. Tiny, which is good. Doesn't take up a lot of space in your shop. Comes with a pressure regulator, 220 adapter to 110, some little orange hose, I don't know what that's for. Looks like about a 9-foot ground, pretty good. A nice long torch, pretty nice. Some interesting piece of hose that probably we won't be using. Some interesting little clamps and stuff that probably go with this hose that we may not use. And some Teflon tape for whatever we might need that for. I don't see any additional consumables in here, but it takes a pretty standard one, which is this style right here. Oh, I don't know why it's not focusing on me, but this style right there. Let's see if I can get it to focus. This style and these little ones here that are almost like a welding consumable. This one screws in, and then this one screws on. This one screws on like so. They were already on, I just took them off to show you guys. And then it comes with, of course, this here. And also a spacer guard thing. These, I don't usually use these. I like to put my tip right on the surface that I'm doing if I use it for sheet metal. If I'm doing it for thicker metal, sometimes I'll hold it away a little bit so it doesn't burn up the tip as much. But I don't normally use them for thick metal. That you do kind of more like a cutting torch where you hold it. You don't have to touch it to the surface. You can hold it away a little bit with this particular machine because it has something called pilot arc where you can have it away from the surface a little bit and actually start it. But when you're doing sheet metal, it's best to hold it right on the metal. I've seen so many guys on YouTube that are showing people that start it like this and they raise it up a little bit while they're cutting sheet metal, and they have this nice ugly wiggly slaggy cut, and what it's really for is to hold it down nice and firm and pull it nice and evenly straight so you get a nice clean cut and no slag. That's what plasma cutters are for. So I don't know, I've seen tons of people use them in odd ways on YouTube. So anyway, I've used a plasma cutter for doing a lot of welding. So on here they got a little protective guard. Let's pull that off because we don't need that anymore. Let's get this guy plugged in the wall and let's see how it works. I think that's really what everybody's here for. All right, that's what we're looking at. That's what the orange hose was for. It goes in between here and there, and then I use this in lieu of the Teflon tape. Works much better. So we'll just let that go. And we can always use these clamps on something else. Thank you. But anyway, we're all ready to do a test on this thing. Let's hook it up. It's tiny. God, it's so small. I mean, it's just like little tiny thing. So it's really cool that it's so small. I like that. So anyway, let's hook it up. Let's do some cutting with it. These things don't usually work as good on 110 as they do on 220. Just so you know, if you don't have 220, it may cut sheet metal, but it's not going to cut it as good as it does on 220. Just so you know, most of them, every one I've ever tried works better on 220 than 110. So if you use it and you go, hey, it doesn't work quite like I thought, maybe you just need 220. So anyway, let's try it and see what happens. Let's turn this thing on. It turns on the back. Ooh, a little. One of those things. Cool cut. And we probably got amps over here. Or what is that? Oh, I don't know what that is. Guess we'll have to find out what that is. And this is the amps over here. So notice on 110, it knows that it's on 110 right there, if you can see that. Yeah, oh, on this thing you can actually see it when I focus it in. It's on 110, 35, but it only goes up to 35, and this is a 55 amp. So remember, it kind of maxes out 35, and that's why I said it doesn't cut as good on this. Oh, what's this, 2T? 4T, oh. Huh. So it has that, like you can push it once, and then it'll keep cutting until it turns off. I can back it up a little bit, so it's a little flickery there, but 2T and 4T. So you can do, like, you push it once, click on it once, and then cut, and then click on it again and turn it off. I don't like that. I'd rather just push the button and hold it. Synergic? Weird. That one we'll have to figure out. Usually most of them have one knob. You know, you got hotter, colder, you know. And I just usually leave them all the way up. You know, when I'm cutting thick stuff or thin stuff, I always leave it really hot, because if it's too cold when you go to cut through it, it'll leave voids. And then when you're trying to cut something nice and straight and clean, like I use this as a shear. Okay, people go, oh, well, it doesn't cut, plasma cutter doesn't cut very clean. It's like, well, it's maybe because you're not using it the proper way. If you hold it, get the torch, I don't want to push the button. If you hold it on the metal, not above the metal, hold it on the metal, it has a cross on the tip so that you can do that. Okay, you hold it on the metal and you pull the trigger and you pull, you can cut very, very cleanly with one of these things. But I watch guys all the time push the button, then lift it up, and then to go, and it's like, you don't need to do that. But it does have the guard that if, you know, you're one of those guys, you can use that. I don't use that guard, though. I don't like using it. It's good if you're cutting really thick stuff, you can maybe use the guard, because you don't, when you hold the tip on the metal, it makes the tip wear out faster. But on sheet metal, it doesn't make much difference. When you're on a thick steel, yeah, then you might want to use the guard. You know, you might want to use that, because you're not looking to get it super clean cut. You know, it's just preference. Personally, I don't use it ever. So anyway, let's go with that. So what is Pilot Arc? I'll show you right here. All right, so Pilot Arc is when you pull the trigger, it makes a flame. Versus a lot of them, you put it on the metal, and that's what starts the flame. That you kind of strike an arc kind of thing, and then you go. Which I just hold it on it and go. I don't care what the instruction says. That's how I do it. Get better results that way. Nice clean cuts. That's why I've been doing it for years. I used one of these when they first came out back in the 80s. And that's how we were taught to do it, to hold it on the metal, pull the trigger, and go. So anyway, the Pilot Arc, what it does, and let's say you hit nasty rust, or you hit some sort of Bondo or something like that, or thick paint, it'll blast its way through that so you can keep going. So it's really handy to have Pilot Arc. Do not buy one of these unless it has Pilot Arc. So this one does. And this one's actually a good price. So let's do some cutting. Right, so the aluminum, it cut, no problem. Let's try a piece of sheet metal though at 35 amps, because maybe some of you guys only have 110, and it cut through this really nicely. You know, a little bit, I had to go a little bit slow, okay, but it did work. Alright, so this was 18 gauge, a little dirty. Cut through it fairly easily. Again, you're going to want it up a higher amperage. So let's shoot it onto 220 and then we'll see the difference. You guys will see 220 is really the hot ticket for these. Alright, so we'll check it out. Alright, let's try some cutting here and see what happens. Blows through that aluminum flawlessly on 220. Look at that, man. Nice straight cuts. Let's try steel. Well, it cuts through thin steel flawlessly. No slag lines, nothing. All right, let's try some square tubing. All right, last test, 1/4 inch steel. Let's try it. Alright, it had a little bit of trouble, of course, like they usually do. Just getting all the way through, you have to go the right speed. But look how much cleaner that one is than the other one I was using. Maybe the tip was old on it. I haven't really noticed any one that works better than the other. I did put a fresh tip on this. When I got it, the tip that was on it didn't last. These are pretty inexpensive to buy, so there's not, you know, that's not a real big deal. It only came with one tip. But look at how nice and clean that is. That's 1/4 inch steel. Pretty good. So, hey, you know what? It's kind of cool. This thing has a fan that turns off automatically, so it's not just running the fan the entire time. When it warms up, it's the size of it's really nice, small. So if you're looking for something like that, I would say this thing's pretty cool. It's very tiny. You can just pick it up. I mean, it looks bigger in the video than it is in person. It is tiny. Let's look here. 12 inches. It's only 12 inches long. It's tiny. By 8-9 inches tall to the top of the handle. And it doesn't take up any space. I could put, it's very small. Smaller than all the other ones I've gotten. So it's kind of nice that it's compact like that. I don't know, I kind of like it. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Please like and share and subscribe and let me know your comments. Honestly, I haven't seen one of these plasma cutters that cuts any better or worse than the other. If you like the size and the price, that's the main thing. I'll talk to you next one.